Hey guys, tonight we are stepping into the sun-scorched sands of medieval Mali, where you're trudging alongside a spice caravan, the dawn painting the dunes in hues of gold and rose. The air's thick with the scent of dust and saffron, and you hear the soft grunts of camels, their bells jingling as they haul sacks of precious spices across the Sahara. The horizon shimmers, a mirage of wealth and danger, and you're right in the heart of a trade route that made empires rich. Spoiler: you probably won't survive this without a serious water break, because the desert doesn't play nice. Tonight, we are unraveling how spices like saffron and pepper shape Mali's legendary trade networks, connecting distant lands in a web of flavor and fortune. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I love knowing where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're still with the caravan, your sandals sinking into the warm sand, the sky now a pale blue as the sun climbs. The Mali Empire, at its peak from the 13th to 16th centuries, was a hub of trans-Saharan trade, its routes bustling with caravans carrying spices, salt, and gold. You adjust the linen scarf over your face, shielding it from the grit, and watch a trader check his camel's load, the sacks bulging with reddish saffron and black pepper. These spices weren't just food, they were currency, power, and medicine, driving merchants to brave the desert's wrath. You smirk, imagining explaining supply chain logistics to these traders. They'd probably laugh and offer you a pinch of ginger instead. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian traders believed saffron could ward off evil spirits, sprinkling it around camps like magical glitter. You chuckle, picturing a camel sneezing through a saffron cloud. Spirits, or no spirits? Did it really keep the bad vibes away, or was it just savvy branding? Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a clever way to boost saffron's value. You brush past a sack, catching its sweet, earthy whiff, and feel the desert's heat creep in, your throat already dry. The caravan's rhythm, camels plodding, traders chanting, pulls you along, and you're starting to see why these routes were worth the risk. You glance at a trader bartering with a nomad, swapping a handful of saffron for a slab of salt, his hands moving fast like he's playing desert poker. It's not just trade, it's a dance, a lifeline that fed cities like Timbuktu. You think of modern grocery stores, all neat aisles and price tags, and laugh. These guys would eat self-checkout for breakfast. The dunes stretch endless, but the caravan's pace is steady, each step a bet on reaching the next oasis. You're curious how these spices change hands. What's the first trade like? You spot a trader weighing salt against a tiny pile of saffron, and your interest sharpens. For now, you let the deserts hum and the caravan's jingle lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still trudging with the caravan, the sun now a fierce orb overhead, baking the dunes as you wipe sweat from your brow, your linen scarf gritty with sand. The camel bells jingle, and you're drawn to a trader at the caravan's heart, his hands deftly weighing a slab of white salt against a tiny heap of saffron strands, their red gold threads glinting like desert treasure. You crouch beside him, the sand hot under your knees, and watch the delicate barter unfold, each pinch of saffron a fortune swapped for salt's heavy worth. It's a tense dance, and you're caught in the rhythm, marveling at how these trades fueled Mali's wealth. You smirk, thinking, if I mess up this deal, I'm stuck eating plain porridge for life. Historians confirm that salt was as valuable as spices in the Mali Empire, often traded pound for pound with saffron or gold due to its scarcity in the Sahel and its role in preserving food. You see the trader's scales tip, his eyes sharp as he adds a single saffron thread, balancing the deal. Salt, mined from Saharan deposits like Tagaza, was a lifeline, while saffron, imported from distant lands, spiced royal dishes and medicines. You sniff the air, catching saffron's sweet, floral bite, and realize this trade's not just about flavor, it's power, connecting deserts to empires. You imagine explaining this to a modern chef: swap your truffle oil for salt bricks, see who wins. They'd faint. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders swore saffron glowed faintly at night, guiding caravans like a spice-fueled lantern. You chuckle, picturing a camel following a glowing sack, probably more confused than led. Was it just a tall tale, or a trick of desert light? Historians still argue whether this was merchant lore or a poetic nod to saffron's allure. You brush a stray thread off the trader's mat, its scent lingering, and feel the deal's weight, like you're holding Mali's economy in your hands. The caravan moves on, camels grumbling, and you stand, dusting sand from your robe. You fall back into step, the salt saffron trade a vivid memory, and think back to that dawn caravan, the dune's golden glow and the first whiff of spice. This barter's a cornerstone, proof spices weren't just cargo but currency that shaped empires. You joke to yourself, if you could trade like this, you'd swap your old couch for a saffron empire and retire in Timbuktu. The air's dry, scented with dust, camel musk, and that floral hint, and you adjust your scarf, it's linen heavy with grit. The trader packs his scales, nodding at you, and you're starting to wonder what it's like to haul these spices. How do the camels cope? You spot a beast ahead, sack swaying, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the desert's rhythm and the caravan's soft chant lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still with the caravan, the salt saffron trade's delicate balance fresh in your mind as you weave through the line of camels, their bells clanging softly under the midday sun. You're tasked with guiding a stubborn camel, its hide rough under your hand, its sacks bulging with spices, pepper, ginger, and more, swaying with each plodding step. The sand burns through your sandals, and you tug the rope, coaxing the beast forward, feeling the weight of its precious load. Each sack's a fortune, and you're hyper-aware of every jostle, like you're herding a bank vault across the Sahara. You smirk, thinking, if this camel bolts, I'm chasing it to Timbuktu with a bad Yelp review. Historians confirm that camels were the backbone of Mali's trans-Saharan trade, carrying hundreds of pounds of spices, salt, and gold across brutal desert routes, their endurance making empires like Mali possible. You pat the camel's flank, its musky scent mixing with the sharp tang of pepper leaking from a sack, and marvel at its strength. These beasts hauled up to 500 pounds, day after day. The caravan's pace is slow but steady, each step a testament to their role in linking West Africa to North African and European markets. You imagine explaining this to a modern trucker: swap your semi for a grumpy camel, see how far you get. They'd quit on day one. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian herders believed camels could smell spice-laden oases, guiding caravans to water like furry GPS units. You chuckle, picturing your camel sniffing out a ginger-scented spring, probably more interested in a nap. Was it instinct, or just trader optimism? Historians still argue whether this was practical knowledge or desert folklore. You tug the rope again, the camel grunting, and catch a whiff of ginger, sharp and warm, from a torn sack. It's a reminder, these spices aren't just cargo, they're the lifeblood of Mali's wealth, and you're keeping them moving. You glance back, the salt saffron trader now a speck in the caravan's dust, and think of that dawn start, the dune's glow, and the trade's delicate dance. This camel's load is the next piece. Proof spices drove Mali's trade to legendary heights. You joke to yourself, if you could ride this camel to riches, you'd call it Spice Express and demand a plush saddle. The air's dry, heavy with dust, camel musk, and that peppery bite, and you adjust your scarf, it's linen caked with grit. The caravan stretches ahead, a line of swaying loads, and you're starting to wonder what happens when these spices hit the market. How's the haggling go? You spot a distant city's haze, maybe Timbuktu, and your curiosity sparks. For now, you let the desert's hum and the camel's steady plod lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still guiding that stubborn camel, its spice-laden sack swaying as the caravan crests a dune, revealing Timbuktu's mud-brick skyline under a hazy afternoon sun. You lead the beast into the city's bustling souk, a maze of stalls brimming with colors and scents, saffron's red threads, pepper's black grains, and ginger's golden roots. You pause at a merchant's table, your scarf loose around your neck, and dive into haggling, offering a sack of pepper for a bolt of indigo cloth, your voice mingling with the market's din. The air's alive with shouts and spice, and you're caught in the thrill of the deal, each barter a pulse of Mali's wealth. You smirk, thinking, if I flub this haggle, I'm stuck with a camel and no Wi-Fi. Historians confirm that Timbuktu was a thriving trade hub in the Mali Empire, its markets a crossroads for spices, textiles, and gold, drawing merchants from across the Sahara and beyond. You eye the merchant, his hands quick as he weighs your pepper, the scales tipping under its pungent load. Spices like these fueled Timbuktu's fame, turning it into a global beacon of commerce and learning by the 14th century. You sniff the air, catching pepper's sharp bite and saffron's floral hint, and realize this souk's not just a market, it's a stage where empires meet. You imagine pitching this to a modern economist. Forget Wall Street, try haggling pepper in Timbuktu. They'd be out of their depth. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders claimed their spices whispered secrets, like pepper grains revealing a deal's fairness. You chuckle, picturing a peppercorn muttering, "Don't trust this guy's cloth." Was it just market mysticism, or a playful haggle tactic? Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a clever way to read the crowd. You toss a pinch of pepper onto the merchant's mat, its scent stinging your nose, and feel the deal's tension, like you're playing chess with flavors. The merchant nods, accepting your offer, and you exhale, cloth in hand, victorious for now. You step back, the souk's chaos swirling, camels bray, traders shout, and a child darts past with a stolen figure. You think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, and the camel's heavy load, seeing how these spices flow from desert to market, shaping Mali's power. You joke to yourself, if you could master the souk, you'd call it Spice Hustle 101 and teach a masterclass. The air's thick with dust, spice, and roasted nuts, and you adjust your scarf, it's linen heavy with market grit. The merchant's already haggling with another, and you're starting to wonder how spices like ginger served beyond the kitchen, did they heal? You spot a healer's stall nearby, ginger roots piled high, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the souk's hum and the spices' sharp tang lull you deeper into this ancient, trade-soaked world. You're still in Timbuktu's bustling souk, the indigo cloth from your pepper trade tucked under your arm as you weave through the crowded stalls, the air thick with spice and sweat. You're drawn to a healer's stall, its table piled high with knobby ginger roots, their earthy scent cutting through the market's chaos. The healer, a woman with silver bangles, grinds ginger into a paste, her hands steady as she explains its use for fevers and fatigue, offering you a pinch to sniff. You lean in, the ginger's sharp warmth tingling your nose, and realize this spice's role in desert medicine is as vital as its culinary clout. You smirk, thinking, if ginger's this good, I'm ditching my vitamin stash for a spice rack. Historians confirm that in the Mali Empire, ginger was prized not just as a spice but as a medicinal staple, traded along desert routes to treat ailments from stomach aches to infections, its value rivaling gold in healing tents. You watch the healer mix the paste with honey, her customers nodding as she dabs it on a child's wrist, claiming it'll soothe a fever. Ginger, sourced from distant coasts via trade networks, was a desert doctor's go-to, its potency making it a caravan essential. You imagine pitching this to a modern pharmacist: stock ginger, it's the OG antibiotic. They'd raise an eyebrow, but here, it's a lifeline, as crucial as saffron in the souk. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian healers believed ginger could sharpen dreams, claiming a pinch before bed sparked visions of trade routes. You chuckle, picturing a trader dreaming of camel shortcuts, probably snoring through a ginger haze. Was it just folklore, or did it boost mental clarity? Historians still argue whether this was a medical belief or a mystic tale to hike ginger's price. You take a sniff, the roots zing clearing your head, and decide it's both remedy and ritual, blended in every grind. The healer offers you a small clay jar, and you slip it into your robe, feeling oddly healthier already. You step away, the souk's din returning, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, and the market's haggle, seeing how ginger's healing power adds another layer to Mali's spice trade. You joke to yourself, if you could bottle this stuff, you'd call it ginger glow, and market it as a desert cure-all. The air's heavy with spice, smoke, and a faint tang of roasted meat, and you adjust your scarf, its linen stiff with dust. The healer's stall fades behind you, but her words linger, and you're starting to wonder what happens when night falls. Where does the caravan rest? You spot the sun dipping, shadows lengthening, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the souk's hum and the ginger's sharp scent lull you deeper into this ancient, trade-soaked world. You're still in Timbuktu's souk, the healer's ginger jar tucked in your robe as you slip away from the market's clamor, following the caravan to a desert camp just beyond the city's walls, where the sun dips below the dunes, painting the sky in fiery oranges. You settle by a crackling fire, its warmth cutting the night's chill, as traders unload spice sacks and camels grunt, finally free of their loads. The stars blaze overhead, and you stretch out on a woven mat, the sand cool beneath, listening to the camp's soft rhythm, murmured barters, sizzling meat, and the faint jingle of bells. You're part of this desert haven, and it feels like a pause in time. You smirk, thinking, if this camp's the VIP lounge of the Sahara, I'm never checking out. Historians confirm that caravan camps were vital for Mali's trade routes, serving as rest stops where traders swapped goods, stories, and rest under the desert's starry canopy, sustaining the flow of spices like pepper and ginger. You watch a trader sort his sacks, the firelight glinting on peppered grains spilling from a tear, and realize these camps were more than pit stops, they were hubs of connection, linking Mali to distant markets. The fire's smoke curls upward, mingling with the scent of roasted millet, and you feel the camp's role in keeping the trade alive, a heartbeat in the desert's vast silence. You imagine pitching this to a modern camper: ditch your RV for a camel and some starlit spice deals. They'd run for the hills. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders believed campfires blessed by saffron sprinkles ensured safe travels, the spice's aroma pleasing desert spirits. You chuckle, picturing a trader tossing saffron into the flames like a culinary prayer, probably hoping for a divine GPS. Was it just ritual, or a morale boost for weary travelers? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual necessity or a poetic trade tradition. You lean closer to the fire, catching a faint floral whiff, and decide it's both faith and comfort, woven into the night. The camp's hum, camels chewing, traders laughing, wraps you in a sleepy glow, the stars a glittering roof. You shift on the mat, the ginger jars wait a reminder of the souk, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the market's haggle, and the healer's craft. This camp's another link, a place where spices rest before their next journey, fueling Mali's trade empire. You joke to yourself, if you could set up shop here, you'd call it Desert Airbnb, Spice Edition, and offer camel rides. The air's crisp, scented with smoke, spice, and a hint of June dust, and you adjust your robe, it's linen heavy with the day's grit. The fire crackles, a trader's song rising, and you're starting to wonder what drove this trade. Did kings demand these spices? You spot a merchant mentioning royal courts, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the camp's calm and the fire's gentle hum lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still at the desert camp, the fire's embers glowing as you shift on the woven mat, the night's chill seeping through your robe, the ginger jar a quiet weight in your pocket. The trader's song fades, and you overhear a grizzled merchant by the fire, his voice low as he boasts of pepper shipments bound for Mali's royal courts, where kings and nobles crave its sharp bite for lavish feasts. You lean closer, the sand cool under your hands, and listen to tales of pepper's prestige, each grain a symbol of wealth that drove caravans across the Sahara. You're caught in the story, feeling the spice's royal pull. You smirk, thinking, if pepper's fit for kings, I'm seasoning my instant noodles with royalty. Historians confirm that pepper, imported via trans-Saharan routes, was a luxury in the Mali Empire, prized by elites for its flavor and status, often costing more than gold in 14th century markets. You watch the merchant gesture at a sack, its black grains spilling like tiny jewels, and imagine Mansa Musa, Mali's famed emperor, sprinkling pepper on his table, a flex of wealth. Pepper's journey from distant lands made it a royal must-have, its trade fueling Mali's dominance. You sniff the air, catching its sharp, warm sting, and realize this spice wasn't just food, it was power, shaping empires. You imagine pitching this to a modern foodie, forget caviar, try pepper worth a king's ransom. They'd balk at the price tag. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian nobles believed pepper sparked courage, serving it before battles like a spicy energy drink. You chuckle, picturing a warrior chugging pepper tea, ready to charge, probably sneezing mid-fight. Was it just a morale boost, or did they think it had mystic kick? Historians still argue whether this was cultural tradition or a placebo for bravery. You brush a stray grain off the mat, its scent tingling, and decide it's both flavor and folklore, firing up the court. The merchant's tale winds down, the fire's glow dimming, and you feel the camp's calm deepen, the stars above like a royal canopy. You settle back, the caravan's snores blending with the fire's crackle, and think back to the dawn's march, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, and the camp's rest. Pepper's royal demands another thread, proof spices wove Mali's wealth and prestige. You joke to yourself, if you could cater for kings, you'd call it Pepper Palace, and charge in gold. The air's cold, scented with smoke, spice, and a faint camel musk, and you adjust your robe, its linen stiff with sand. The merchant tucks his sack away, and you're starting to wonder where these spices go next. Maybe an oasis deal? You spot a trader planning tomorrow's route, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the fires hum and the desert's starry hush lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still at the desert camp, the fire's embers fading as you rise from the mat, the merchant's tales of royal pepper lingering like a spicy aftertaste. The caravan stirring, camels reloaded under a dawn sky streaked with pink, and you join the trek, your robe heavy with dew, toward a shimmering oasis nestled among palms. You reach its lush edge, where traders gather by a spring, bartering spices, saffron, ginger, pepper, for water, cloth, and dates, their voices a soft hum over the trickle of water. You kneel by a stall, the sand cool under your hands, and haggle for a handful of ginger, the oasis's calm making every deal feel like a ritual. You smirk, thinking, if I botch this barter, I'm stuck sipping plain oasis water, no spice, no dice. Historians confirm that oases were critical hubs along Mali's trade routes, serving as rest and trade points where spices changed hands, sustaining the flow of goods across the Sahara from the 13th to 16th centuries. You watch a trader weigh saffron against a stack of dried dates, his scales glinting in the morning light, and realize this oasis isn't just a water stop, it's a marketplace, a lifeline for caravans. The spring's cool mist brushes your face, and you smell ginger's sharp warmth, a reminder of the healer's stall in Timbuktu. You imagine pitching this to a modern logistics expert. Set up shop at a desert spring, no Wi-Fi needed. They'd be lost without their spreadsheets, but here, it's all instinct and spice. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders believed Oasis Springs blessed spice deals, claiming the water's purity sealed fair trades. You chuckle, picturing a spring bubbling approval, like a divine cashier ringing up saffron. Was it just a charming story, or a way to build trust? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual belief or a practical boost for commerce. You hand over your ginger for a clay jug of water, its coolness a relief, and decide it's both ritual and reason, flowing like the spring. The trader smiles, tucking the spice away, and you feel the oasis's rhythm, a pulse of trade under palm shade. You step back, the caravan's bells jingling as camels drink, and think back to the dawn march, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the camp's rest, and the royal pepper's allure. This oasis barter's another link, proof spices drove Mali's desert economy, connecting dunes to distant courts. You joke to yourself, if you could run this oasis, you'd call it Spice Splash and throw in free dates. The air's fresh, scented with water, palm, and a faint spice tang, and you adjust your robe, it's linen gritty with sand. The traders pack up, eyeing the horizon, and you're starting to wonder where these spices came from. How did cloves reach Mali? You spot a merchant with unfamiliar sacks, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the oasis's calm and the spring's soft trickle lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still at the oasis, the spring's cool mist fading as you leave the bartering stalls, your clay jug of water sloshing against your hip, the caravan winding back into the sun-scorched dunes. You fall in step with a weathered trader, his robe stained with dust, who's unpacking a sack of dark, aromatic cloves, their woody scent cutting through the desert's dry air. He tells you these spices traveled from far-off islands, across seas and sands, to reach Mali's trade routes, each clove a tiny globetrotter. You hold one, its nail-like shape rough in your palm, and marvel at its journey, a spice linking continents. You smirk, thinking, if cloves have frequent flyer miles, they're racking up first-class seats. Historians confirm that cloves, originating from the Moluccas in Southeast Asia, reached Mali via complex trade networks, passing through Arab and Indian merchants before landing in Saharan caravans by the 14th century. You sniff the clove, its sharp, sweet warmth dizzying, and realize it's not just flavor, it's a testament to Mali's global reach, connecting West Africa to Asia's spice islands. The trader explains how cloves spiced royal dishes and medicines, their rarity inflating their worth. You imagine pitching this to a modern importer: ship cloves across 3 continents, no tracking number. They'd lose their minds, but here, it's just another day on the trade route. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian traders believed cloves carried whispers of distant oceans, claiming their scent held sea spirits' blessings. You chuckle, picturing a clove whispering, "Surf's up," like a tiny maritime messenger. Was it just a poetic tale, or a nod to their exotic origins? Historians still argue whether this was merchant folklore or a marketing trick to boost clove prices. You roll the clove between your fingers, its aroma grounding you, and decide it's both story and strategy, woven into every bud. The trader repacks his sack, the caravan's bells jingling, and you feel the vastness of this spice's path, like a thread across the world. You trudge on, the oasis now a green speck behind you, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the camp's rest, the royal pepper, and the oasis deals. Cloves add another layer, proof Mali's trade routes were a global web, fueled by spices. You joke to yourself, if you could trace this cloves trip, you'd call it Spice Odyssey and pitch a travel documentary. The air's hot, scented with dust, clove, and a faint camel musk, and you adjust your robe, it's linen heavy with grit. The trader's story ends, but you're starting to wonder how these deals stayed secret. Did traders have codes? You spot 2 merchants exchanging odd-hand signs, and your curiosity sparks. For now, you let the desert's hum and the clove's woody scent lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still trudging through the Sahara, the clove's woody scent fading from your fingers as the caravan plods under a blistering noon sun, your robe damp with sweat. You're walking beside 2 traders, their hands flashing subtle signs, fingers crossed, a quick tap on the wrist, as they haggle over a sack of saffron without a word. You squint, trying to decode their signals, realizing these are secret codes used to keep spice deals private in Mali's cutthroat trade world. Each gesture's a whispered contract, and you're caught in the quiet intrigue, like you've stumbled into a desert spy novel. You smirk, thinking, if I crack this code, I'm opening a spice cartel and retiring to a dune mansion. Historians confirm that Malian traders often used hand signals and coded phrases to protect valuable spice transactions, ensuring secrecy in crowded markets or caravan stops from the 13th to 16th centuries. You watch the traders' fingers dance, one signaling half a sack with a curled thumb, the other countering with a flat palm for full price, their faces blank to hide the deal from prying eyes. These codes, passed down through merchant families, guarded against theft or rival eavesdroppers, keeping spices like saffron and cloves secure. You imagine pitching this to a modern cryptographer. Forget blockchain, try hand signs for spice deals. They'd be stumped, but here, it's a silent art, as vital as the spices themselves. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders claimed their codes were taught by desert jinn, spirits who whispered signals in dreams to loyal merchants. You chuckle, picturing a jinn giving a TED talk on hand gestures, probably with a smoky PowerPoint. Was it just folklore, or a way to mystify their craft? Historians still argue whether this was a cultural tale or a tactic to intimidate competitors. You mimic a trader's sign, crossing your fingers, and feel a thrill, like you're in on the secret. The saffron sack changes hands, the deal sealed with a nod, and you're struck by the trust beneath the secrecy, a bond forged in sand. You fall back into the caravan's rhythm, the camel bells jingling, and think back to the dawn march, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the camp's rest, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, and the clove's journey. These codes are another layer. Proof spices were treasures worth guarding in Mali's trade empire. You joke to yourself, if you could master these signals, you'd call it spice sign language and teach it for gold. The air's dry, heavy with dust, spice, and a faint tang of sweat, and you adjust your scarf, its linen stiff with grit. The traders move on, their hands still now, and you're starting to wonder what happens when nature fights back. Can spices survive a sandstorm? You spot clouds of dust rising ahead, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the deserts hum and the caravan's steady plod lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still with the caravan, the trader's secret hand signs fresh in your mind as you trudge through the dunes, the midday sun a relentless hammer on your robe. A sudden gust whips up, sand stinging your face, and the horizon darkens with a swirling wall of dust, a sandstorm bearing down fast. You scramble with the traders to shield the spice sacks, tugging heavy wool blankets over the camel loads, your hands fumbling as you secure ropes around precious cargoes of saffron and cloves. The wind howls, and you're racing against the storm, desperate to save Mali's treasures from being buried in the Sahara's wrath. You smirk, thinking, if this storm eats my spices, I'm writing a strongly worded letter to the desert. Historians confirm that sandstorms were a constant threat to Mali's trans-Saharan trade routes, capable of scattering caravans and burying goods, with traders developing tactics like protective coverings to safeguard spices from the 13th to 16th centuries. You pull a blanket tied over a sack, the clove's woody scent faint through the dust, and realize these measures were critical. Losing a load could bankrupt a merchant or starve a trade hub like Timbuktu. The camel grunts, huddling low, and you work alongside a trader, his scarf wrapped tight, tying knots against the gale. You imagine pitching this to a modern shipper, cover your cargo before a sand tsunami hits. They'd think you were exaggerating, but here, it's life or loss. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some traders believed chanting to desert spirits could calm sandstorms, claiming their songs soothed the winds carrying their spices. You chuckle, picturing a trader belting out a lullaby to a dust cloud, probably coughing mid-verse. Was it just desperate hope, or a cultural ritual to rally the crew? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual practice or a psychological boost in chaos. You mutter a half-hearted chant under your breath, the sand gritty on your tongue, and decide it's both faith and focus, battling the storm. The blankets hold, the spices safe for now, and you slump against a camel, the wind's roar easing slightly. You catch your breath, the storm's edge passing, leaving a haze of dust that stings your eyes. You think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the camp's rest, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, the clove's journey, and the secret codes. This storm's a test. Proof spices were worth every risk in Mali's trade empire. You joke to yourself, if you could tame sandstorms, you'd call it spice shield and charge a fortune for calm skies. The air's thick with dust, clove, and a faint camel musk, and you adjust your scarf, it's linen caked with sand. The traders check their loads, relief in their eyes, And you're starting to wonder how these journeys were remembered. Did storytellers sing of spices? You spot a griot tuning a kora nearby, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the desert's fading hum and the caravan's weary plod lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still with the caravan, the sandstorm's dust settling as you brush grit from your robe, the spice sack safe under their wool blankets, the desert air now calm under a twilight sky. You gather around a flickering campfire, the caravan paused for the night, and a griot, a storyteller with a silver-threaded tunic, sits cross-legged, strumming a kora, its strings humming tales of Mali's spice trade. You settle on a woven mat, the sand cool beneath, and listen as he sings of saffron's golden threads and pepper's fiery grains, weaving stories of traders who braved dunes for wealth. The firelight dances, and you're lost in the griot's words, each verse a window to Mali's past. You smirk, thinking, if this griot's spinning spice epics, he's the desert's answer to a podcast host. Historians confirm that griots were vital in the Mali Empire, preserving oral histories of trade routes and spices like saffron and cloves, passing down tales that shaped cultural identity from the 13th to 16th centuries. You watch the griot's fingers pluck the kora, his voice low and rhythmic, recounting a trader who swapped ginger for gold, outsmarting bandits. These stories weren't just entertainment, they were records, teaching young traders the roots and risks of the Sahara. You sniff the air, catching a whiff of cloves from a nearby sack, and feel the weight of these tales, linking you to centuries of spice-driven quests. You imagine pitching this to a modern historian. Forget archives, get a griot with a kora. They'd be scrambling for a recorder. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some griots claimed their songs made spices taste richer, as if the music blessed the cargo with extra zing. You chuckle, picturing a pepper grain perking up, like, thanks for the tune, I'm spicier now. Was it just poetic flair, or a way to hype the trade? Historians still argue whether this was cultural storytelling or a belief in music's mystic touch. You lean closer, the kora's hum blending with the fire's crackle, and decide it's both art and allure, flavoring the spices saga. The griot's eyes glint, his story winding through desert nights, and you feel the camp's calm deepen, a lullaby of history. You shift on the mat, the ginger jar in your pocket a quiet reminder of Timbuktu, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the camp's rest, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, the cloves journey, the secret codes, and the sandstorm's threat. These griot tales are another thread, proof spices were Mali's heartbeat, sung into legend. You joke to yourself, if you could hire this griot, you'd call it Spice Sagas Live, and book him for every campfire. The air's cool, scented with smoke, clove, and a faint tang of sand, and you adjust your robe, it's linen heavy with dust. The griot's song softens, and you're starting to wonder how spices were valued. Did cinnamon rival gold? You spot a trader weighing a spice, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the fire's hum and the kora's gentle strum lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still at the campfire, the griot's kora fading into the desert night as you rise from the woven mat, your robe brushing the cool sand, drawn to a trader nearby who's weighing a sack of cinnamon sticks against a gleaming pile of gold dust. The firelight glints on his scales, the cinnamon's sweet, woody scent filling the air as he carefully balances the spice's worth against the metal's shimmer, each grain a testament to Mali's wealth. You crouch beside him, the sand soft under your knees, and watch the delicate trade, feeling the weight of cinnamon's value in this desert economy. You smirk, thinking, if cinnamon's worth gold, I'm dusting my oatmeal with pure luxury. Historians confirm that cinnamon, traded through Mali's trans-Saharan routes from the 13th to 16th centuries, was a prized spice, often valued as highly as gold due to its rarity and demand in African, European, and Middle Eastern markets. You eye the cinnamon sticks, their reddish-brown bark curling like tiny scrolls, and learn they traveled from distant Sri Lanka or India, making their way to Mali via Arab merchants. This trade wasn't just about flavor. Cinnamon spiced royal feasts, scented medicines, and signaled status. It's worth rivaling precious metals. You imagine pitching this to a modern investor. Forget crypto, buy cinnamon, it's gold tier. They'd think you were nuts, but here, the scales don't lie. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian traders believed cinnamon could summon prosperity, claiming its scent drew wealth like a magnet. You chuckle, picturing a stick waving at gold dust, whispering, "Come to Papa." Was it just a merchant's tale, or a way to hype the spice's allure? Historians still argue whether this was economic folklore or a savvy sales pitch. You sniff the cinnamon, its warm sweetness grounding you, and decide it's both myth and market, blended in every bark. The trader adjusts the scales, gold dust sparkling, and you feel the deal's quiet power, like you're witnessing Mali's heartbeat. You stand, the camp's embers glowing faintly, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the night camp, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, the clove's journey, the secret codes, the sandstorm's threat, and the griot's tales. This cinnamon gold trade's another link. Proof spices were Mali's currency, as vital as any metal. You joke to yourself, if you could trade like this, you'd call it cinnamon cash flow and buy a June palace. The air's crisp, scented with cinnamon, smoke, and a faint camel musk, and you adjust your robe, it's linen gritty with sand. The trader seals the deal, and you're starting to wonder how these spices move next. Do they cross rivers? You spot a glimmer of water in the distance, maybe the Niger, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the camp's calm and the cinnamon's sweet hum lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still at the desert camp, the cinnamon gold trade's warm scent lingering as you leave the trader's scales, your robe heavy with sand, and follow the caravan toward the glimmering Niger River, its waters glinting under a late afternoon sun. You board a wooden ferry, its planks creaking, helping traders load spice sacks, saffron, pepper, cloves, onto the deck, the river's current tugging gently as you cross to the other bank. The water's cool mist kisses your face, and you grip a rope, steadying a sack of ginger, feeling the river's role in carrying Mali's spices to new markets. You're caught in the ferry's sway, a vital link in the trade's flow. You smirk, thinking, if this ferry sinks, I'm swimming with a spice sack and starting a soggy souk. Historians confirm that the Niger River was a lifeline for the Mali Empire's trade from the 13th to 16th centuries, ferrying spices and goods between inland cities like Timbuktu and coastal markets, extending the reach of Saharan caravans. You watch a trader secure a sack of cloves, its woody aroma mixing with the river's muddy tang, and realize this crossing connects desert routes to broader networks, spreading Mali's wealth. The ferryman pulls steadily, his muscles taut, guiding you past reeds and fishing canoes. You imagine pitching this to a modern shipper. Trade your cargo ship for a rickety ferry, Spice Edition. They'd balk, but here, it's the pulse of commerce, floating on the Niger's flow. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian ferrymen believed river spirits favored spice traders, calming currents for saffron-laden boats. You chuckle, picturing a water sprite high-fiving your ferry for its clove cargo, probably splashing for joy. Was it just a river tale, or a way to boost crew morale? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual belief or a practical nod to the river's role. You lean over the edge, the water's ripples hypnotic, and decide it's both myth and motive, guiding the ferry's path. The sacks are stacked high, safe for now, and you feel the crossing's rhythm, like Mali's trade breathing through the river. You glance back at the shore, the camp's embers a distant glow, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the night camp, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, the cloves journey, the secret codes, the sandstorm's threat, the griot's tales, and the cinnamon gold trade. This river crossing's another thread, proof spices flowed beyond the desert, shaping Mali's empire. You joke to yourself, if you could captain this ferry, you'd call it Spice Sailor, and charge in pepper? The air's warm, scented with river mud, cloves, and a faint dust tang, and you adjust your scarf, its linen stiff with grit. The far bank nears, traders preparing to unload, and you're starting to wonder how this trade endures. What's its legacy? You spot a starlit horizon, and your curiosity stirs. For now, you let the river's hum and the ferry's gentle creak lull you deeper into this ancient, spice-scented world. You're still on the Niger River's far bank, the ferry's creak fading as you help unload spice sacks under a starlit sky, the air cool and sharp with the scent of cloves and river mud. The caravan's settled for the night, and you wander to a quiet dune overlooking the water, sitting cross-legged on a woven mat, the sand soft beneath. You reflect on the spices, saffron, pepper, ginger, cloves, cinnamon, that wove Mali's desert trade routes into a global web, their legacy enduring in markets and stories centuries later. The stars twinkle like scattered gold dust, and you're wrapped in the trade's timeless hum, feeling its echo in the desert's vast silence. You smirk, thinking, if spices built this empire, I'm calling my next grocery run a treasure hunt. Historians note that the Mali Empire's spice trade, flourishing from the 13th to 16th centuries, left a lasting legacy, shaping West African economies and cultural exchange, with spices like saffron and cloves influencing global cuisine and commerce long after Mali's peak. You gaze at the river, its ripples catching starlight, and think of Timbuktu's souks, where these spices still trade today, a testament to Mali's enduring impact. Each sack you've hauled, each deal you've seen, carries this history, linking deserts to distant shores. You imagine pitching this to a modern food historian. Trace your curry to Mali's dunes, no passport needed. They'd be hooked, but here, it's just you, the stars, and a legacy that breathes through the sand. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Malian elders believed spice routes were guarded by star spirits, guiding caravans with celestial maps. You chuckle, picturing a star winking at a camel, like, turn left at the dune. Was it just a poetic tale, or a way to navigate by night? Historians still argue whether this was practical astronomy or spiritual lore. You trace a constellation, its lines faint, and decide it's both navigation and myth, etched in the sky. The desert's quiet, broken only by a distant camel's grunt, and you feel the trade's weight settle, a story that never fades. You lean back, the ginger jar in your pocket a quiet anchor, and think back to the caravan's dawn, the salt saffron trade, the camel's load, the souk's haggle, the healer's ginger, the night camp, the royal pepper, the oasis deals, the cloves journey, the secret codes, the sandstorm's threat, the griot's tales, the cinnamon gold trade, and the river crossing. This starlit reflection ties it all together, Proof spices were Mali's heartbeat, pulsing through time. You joke to yourself, if you could leave a legacy like this, you'd call it Spice Eternal and carve it in the dunes. The air's crisp, scented with river, clove, and a faint dust tang, and you adjust your robe, it's linen heavy with the journey's grit. The stars shine on, the trades echo soft, and you're ready to drift, the desert's embrace complete. You're still on the dune, the stars a gentle canopy, the desert now a vast, quiet cradle under the night's cool touch. Your breath slows, matching the river's distant lap, each inhale drawing in clove and dust, each exhale easing the trade's long journey. The caravan sleeps, its camels still, the spice sacks resting like treasures won. You sink deeper into the mat's weave, your robe a soft shield, the sand's coolness a whisper of peace. There's no rush here, no dunes to cross, just the night's calm, holding you in its starry arms. Feel the stars' light, a tender glow, softening the world's edges. The spices, saffron's glow, pepper's bite, cinnamon's warmth, fade into this hush, their legacy a quiet song in the desert's heart. Picture Timbuktu dreaming, its souks silent, the Niger flowing on. Every moment, the camels plod, the griot's tail, the river's sway, melts into the stillness, where only rest remains. Your eyelids droop, the stars blurring, their twinkle a lullaby older than empires. Sleep's near, a warm tide pulling you gently. You're safe here, cradled by the dune, the night watching over you. The trade's done, the spice is home, and you're floating, carried by a story that never ends. Let the desert take you, its silence soft, its darkness kind. Close your eyes, feel the sand, and drift into the vast, starry calm. You're part of Mali's legacy now, resting in its timeless trade. Sleep well, traveler.